My guest today is Vota from Zeus.
Hi Mark, thank you so much for bringing me on.
Today we have Zeus Subnet 18. How's it going, guys?
Zeus, so it is a subnet for predicting the weather.
We create a weather API where we just predict the weather, and we're doing that better than any API out there.
Thanks guys, thanks everyone for having me. I'm from Zeus, I'm representing the Zeus team today, and we're doing weather forecasting. So what is Hippie is doing for cloud storage and Riches is doing for coding, we're doing for weather forecasting. That's us, that's Zeus, Subnet 18. So for the average person, weather is not that important. It's the question if we wear shorts. Do we go outside today? Do we go to the beach? But for certain industries, it really matters. It's powering multi-million-dollar decisions, and that's exactly the industries we are targeting, the industries where a single degree of accuracy matters. So let's zoom out a bit. What is Zeus? Well, Zeus is a 24/7 global competition where teams all around the world are competing and being paid to forecast the weather. Miners are obsessed with finding the edge. They will do whatever it takes. They are building models from scratch. They are fine-tuning open source models and they are building smart systems, querying several models in their area of expertise. We've been live for about 8 months and we've actually seen miners beat the state of the art for every environmental variable that we introduce within about 2 weeks. And what we also see is we see them specializing in certain aspects. So for example, we see them specializing in regions. We see them specializing in certain time intervals, environmental variables such as temperature, and even terrains, such as mountains. And what we can do as a subnet as a whole is that we take only the experts in their area of expertise, and that way we get a collective intelligence that no single centralized model can match. And that's how we always satisfy the Bittensor philosophy and also are able to provide the very highest accuracy. And as I said before, every time we add a new environmental variable to the stack, miners beat state-of-the-art models within 2 weeks. Okay, so this is the grid, visualized. It's to give you an idea where miners are forecasting the weather and also where they are being evaluated. So this is a grid that spans the entire globe. It's actually more than 1 million points, and this is it zoomed in. So on these points, miners are getting tasked to forecast the weather. For example, they get a request from a validator. What will be the temperature in one of these points, or actually maybe more of these points, a group of these points, in let's say 2 or 3 days. And how are they doing in these points? Pretty good. So we've benchmarked our subnet against the golden standard in operational forecasting called the ECMWF IFS HRES, which is a mouthful. But as you can see in this bar chart is that they're doing really well because we're measuring RMSE, which is a metric for margin of error. So you actually want the bars to be short. That means less error being more accurate. And as you can see in every time interval, our miners are doing really well and outperforming the IFS. And the beauty of decentralization is that the best miner is always even better, and that's exactly the miner that we will query, for example, in 0 to 1 days for temperature. We will query this miner, and that's how we always beat the average for temperature, but also for precipitation, wind, another component of wind, and then dew point. And this actually captures it perfectly because, as you can see, for every interval, even the average miner is outperforming the golden standard in operational forecasting. But except for this interval, where the average miner is actually doing worse, but then we still have the best miner outperforming it, and that's exactly the one we queried. All right, so let's move back to the grid. Because as I said, miners are being tasked to forecast the weather exactly at these points. And in these points, they are doing really well, as we just seen. But they're also getting used to the grid. They know where to excel, and they tend to underperform slightly within these bounds. So obviously, we want them also to be really well within these bounds, within these grid points. Because what if there would be a windmill, for example? If you don't perform at the very highest level, we'd be missing the exact edge that commodity traders, for example, are willing to pay for, because it's really valuable to know exactly what would be the wind around a windmill farm. And we figured that we need some observational data. We need to know what is the data exactly in these locations. So we figured with Bittensor introducing mechanisms, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they recently introduced this, and this allows us to spin up a second dedicated competition where miners are actually being tasked to forecast the weather in specific locations where weather stations are at. And we've decided to partner up with WeatherXM. They are the largest DeepIn leader in decentralized weather infrastructure. And we will be using their physical weather stations to have miners forecast the weather for those specific points. And we can also evaluate them against real-time observational data. They have deployed around 10,000 weather stations all across the globe. And as you can see, there's a lot of coverage in, for example, America and Europe, but they're also actively reaching out in the areas where we need this data the most, because these are the areas where reliable data is severely lacking. And they're working really hard to also deploy stations in those areas. And this will significantly increase the accuracy of our models. And by blending this structured global data, but also the observational local data, we will have models that are more reliable globally and more accurate locally. And the guy that Siam was talking about, who was studying at the University of Amsterdam, is actually part of the team. And he had written a paper about exactly this, combining the structured global data with the observational local data. So we're positioned to really lead the frontier on decentralized weather forecasting, and now actually the whole stack is decentralized with both the data observations and us forecasting the weather, miners being 24/7 incentivized to get their models better. So what does the business look like? Well, we've unlocked a clear path to revenue, because as soon as we reach a certain threshold, our forecast will also be offered through their platform, through their existing client base of around 10,000 station owners. And we expect to cross this threshold within a week, because we're actually also onboarding this team to the subnet, so they will be mining this second additional mechanism. And that's how we will gain results from day one. And then we also will sell their hardware with a 20% cut on every unit. I actually brought one of them to show you guys. So this is what it looks like. And it can measure the wind. It actually catches the rain, and it also measures temperature. And we will deploy these all over the globe, and this ensures us to be able to, as we get back, forecast on exactly these locations. So if we deploy these, let's say, around a windmill farm, we would have exactly the data that commodity traders are willing to pay for. And to scale all of this, we've actually partnered up with Lead Poet. I'm sure you will learn a lot about them soon. And they will, with specialized sales leads, they will be able to help us sell this and deploy them all over the globe. And that's it, that's Zeus. That's how we turn atmospheric uncertainty into operational certainty. And if there are any questions, I'd love to answer those. Oh, it's brand new, so we didn't install it yet.
Questions? Whoa.
Thanks, that was very interesting. Can you just give an example or some examples of where such accuracy is? I'm a layman in this area, so the baseline looks fairly accurate anyway, but obviously you're twice as accurate over here. Can you give some examples where that level of accuracy and temperature or whatever it might be in that wavelength is making a difference and why it's so important?
Of course, yeah. For example, here at a windmill farm, it would be really accurate or valuable for a commodity trader. We have actually been talking to a commodity trader who is really interested in our weather data and also said, I want to be the first paying customer, but we need this local data. So we will actually be sending one of these stations to him, and he can deploy them in areas of his need, and it will provide him with the most accurate local forecasts. But for example, also a remote farm would be a perfect customer. Or for example, we could actually take 10 of these and put them around an F1 grid and measure the weather over there for F1 formula teams to utilize the data. And there are much more use cases.
Any other questions? Come on, there must be loads. Yes.
Just a quick question. The unit is deployed at ground level?
Yeah.
Because obviously the wind at 100 feet for the windmill is going to change significantly.
Yeah, you can deploy, the thing is you deploy them on a pole, and you can put it on the roof, you can put it in your garden, you can put it wherever you want. But it's on a pole, it's not on the ground.
I'm just thinking of the windmill, it's 100 feet up.
Yeah.
And that the wind speed there is going to vary greatly from even if you place the unit on a pole. Yeah. And if you're trying to get exact data, there's going to be a difference. That's
true. But still, the measurements of wind at lower levels will also directly be correlated to the wind levels at higher. So that's where actually the combination of the global coverage, where we also forecast wind at 100 meters, and then the observations at a lower level, can be used in a model to get the best accurate data of 100 meters, but also with the local observations. It's a powerful combination.
Hi. I've just got a question. It's probably on here.
Oh.
On that specific example,
yeah.
Is there not, you've probably already thought about this, but a great use case for energy management companies? So yeah. Companies that are running windmill farms to optimize that energy, or if they know there's going to be some very high winds coming, that they can shut certain windmills down and manage them better. Yeah. So there must be a huge use case for the control and management around windmills.
There is. There's actually, I read a paper quite recently where they stated that utility managers who only upgraded their weather forecasting model, so they didn't start using weather data, they actually only upgraded their model from A to B, a bit more accurate, and they can save, in the whole of the US, they can save about $500 million a year, utility managers. So it's a great use case, indeed.
Hi, just over here. Sorry,
yeah.
Thanks. Is this only onshore to be utilised? What about offshore wind farms? Going to be utilised there?
Offshore is going to be a bit harder. Currently, as you can see as well on the... Look here, Oh, I'm actually going the wrong way. Apologies. As you can see, there are no weather stations on the sea. I guess you can be creative and put them on a boat, or you would actually put them on the islands that the windmills are in. But that's not the use case we're going for. It's not really feasible, probably.
Okay, yeah. A lot of the competitors in wind, I work in wind, with their weather forecasting, they're able to not only say what the wind will be offshore, but also they'll deal with significant wave height, lightning forecasts and stuff like that. Is that something you may look to expand into?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a lot of use cases we could tailor towards. We're currently really looking into commodity trading. I think that's the most interesting one, and that's also the ones we've been promoting, and also the people we're talking to currently. So that's our core focus right now, but there are a lot of ways we could look into, a lot of directions, and this could be one of them. Okay. I know the weather is also being measured with, not sure how you pronounce it, but buoys.
Yeah.
In Netherlands it's called buoyen. Mm-hmm. And maybe we will also start integrating that data. That could be really useful.
Okay, thanks.
So the fastest route to cash are the commodity traders?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's not necessarily the fast. I mean, the fastest route right now for us is to cross the threshold and start offering our forecast through the WeatherXM platform. I mean, that's something we could be doing within a month. But the commodity traders are a big client. They expressed a lot of interest, several of them. And there are a couple of things we're doing right now actually to also satisfy their needs. For example, we're looking in probabilities. We're looking at querying more around peak demand periods, things like that. And if we nail it and we get the first customer, I think it's a huge market we could penetrate.
I've got a question. With regards to the weather device, how is it powered and how does it communicate then to your network?
One more time. I'm not sure.
How is the device powered, and then how is it relaying that data through to your network?
Yeah, so there are actually multiple stations. This one is connected with Helium, which is another like big deep in project, and that allows it to not need Wi-Fi. And there are also stations that use Wi-Fi to transition the data.
But how is it powered? I think he's referring to, like, is it solar or how does it get the signal to Helium?
Okay, I understand. There's actually, I'm not sure if it already is connected, but there is a little solar panel on there as well, I believe.
And what is it? What Wi-Fi? Like, how does it get the signal, like the telemetry to the cloud?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I was making these slides, and this week we've been doing the latest talks with this company. We just wrapped it up, announced it yesterday, and I think like 3 days ago we received the weather stations, and we hadn't even like unboxed them. So this is like the first time for me as well looking at it, and I'm sure we'll figure out how exactly it works and start deploying them.
So did you say you're going to sell these weather stations?
Yeah.
And then how much?
As much as we can.
No, the price, as in the price.
Oh. No, we'll be. It's. I think they offer a bunch, and they range from 400 to 800, and then we get a 20% cut.
So what's in it for the user to buy this for say $400 or $500?
Yeah, so there are two types of users. One of them is probably the weather enthusiast who can also start mining the WeatherXM token, because it's also a blockchain project, also decentralized. And they get the WeatherXM token if they deploy their stations and the quality of data is good. So you're actually also being measured on that you don't put it like behind a wall. And you actually are measuring the real weather data, and you're not putting it in front of like a blower that blows air into it. And then you start earning these tokens, but for us it's way more interesting to start targeting, for example, the commodity traders or the farmer who doesn't have local accurate data. And for them, we can promise them that if you deploy a station like this, our miners will start tailoring their models towards this data, and you will get the most accurate weather forecast in the world.
Hello. Can you explain how the commodity trader makes money from this?
Yeah, for sure. For example, what the commodity trader is actually most interested in is if you can counter the other weather forecasts. So they are using, for example, the model that we've benchmarked against. This is one of the most... This is one of the most commonly used weather models by commodity traders. And if you can counter this model because we are more accurate, there's a lot of money to be made just because you're basically countering the market. But also, of course, like the more easy to understand way is that if you know that there will be a lot of, it's going to be really cold, like the prices of heating oil will rise. And then you can also utilize that and start benefiting from it. Or gas prices. Or,
I have a question for Siam. Would you like to have one weather station?
Yeah.
You can have this one. Please take it and put it in your garden, and then we'll start predicting the weather, and you can see how well it works.
So I just put it in my garden?
Yeah, wherever you want. Yeah.
Okay.
You can have it.
Like on the grass, or do I need a stick, or like?
We'll help you out.
Okay, cool. And it will just automatically connect to the network and...
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you will automatically start mining the WeatherXM token, which allows to pay for the bills. You have to connect it to electricity power, and you can pay that with the WeatherXM tokens.
I've got a potentially better idea. Are there any farmers here? Who here owns a farm or who has a weather requirement? You have horses, don't you? Yeah. So, can I gift that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Okay, that's yours. and then you'll get much better quality data from her, like, yeah, than me.
Yeah.
And she's surrounded by farmers, she says. So
Awesome.
amazing, yeah. That's yours. Cool. You've just made a lady very happy. So, there's a question at the back, Lewis.
Yeah, sorry. I asked a question earlier. While you've got this graph up, the question I was really looking, or the answer I was looking for, is can you give examples where the difference between the grey and the dark blue bars, that level of accuracy, actually makes a difference? That's what I'm getting at. In other words, when is good enough, and when is that level of accuracy needed? That's really what I'm coming. That's where I'm coming from. Where is the market here where you need that level of accuracy? Do you have any kind of real use cases for that?
Yeah, that's exactly why I introduced with that most people don't really care, but there are industries where like a degree of accuracy really matters. And we actually see we tend to like be more accurate at like around a degree. And for example, the commodity traders, if you can counter the market, as I just said before, that's really valuable. But also for example, F1 teams, if they know the exact weather and they know it better than the other teams, they will like have a better tier strategy, things like that. And for a farmer, it's like really important as well.
So if an F1 team bought your thing, and let's say they bought 4, so they just put it in a box around the track for that day, I guess you'd only earn like $2,000 from that, and then I guess would a partnership like that just be more symbolic than revenue generating?
Well, we will also we will sell the forecast, and it's not only selling the forecast, it's also unlocking the data that most of our competitors don't have, and that's also making all of our models way more accurate. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the grid points. We need also we already have the most accurate models at these grid points, and it spans the whole globe, and it's a big deal, but we need more accuracy within these bounds, and this is exactly how we unlock that.
If you want access to Red Bull, give me a shout.
We would love to.
Hi, I've got a question here. I think what Siam is trying to ask is, what will the membership model be? So if someone buys a couple of these stations, do they have to pay a membership fee for them to get more accurate weather forecasts?
Yeah, so you buy a station, that's a single payment, and then with us you buy also the forecast, which would be a monthly payment. And we're actually looking into making a bundle as well. So we will have WeatherXM stations powered by Zeus, and then we can make a sweet deal, and we could also like up the weight of the stations within the additional mechanism, which would mean that miners are more incentivized to start tailoring their models to that specific station.
A lot of the questions here have been around the viability of people owning and buying one of these weather stations for the value it might give back to them. Have you considered gamifying the utilization of the weather stations so people get essentially incentivized to want to be part of this, like running servers on SETI at home or providing data that essentially can create a revenue stream in the same way I might install solar to be able to sell back excess to the grid?
Are you saying we
you should gamify the collection of weather data so it's actually engaging? I may want to run a weather station because it serves my purpose, and I'm happy to get a small trickle of incentive back. But the reality is most blockchain-related projects that rely on group-collected data fail because the incentive that goes to the participants collecting is so minuscule that eventually, when their weather station breaks, they're not going to replace it. Maybe they won't run a wire all the way up a pole at the end of their garden because it actually doesn't make sense. But if you gamify that and you provide something in return, or incentive, because a lot of the incentive, of course, is going to miners. But the people collecting the data, if you can gamify them on your platform, even outside of the subnet, there could be value in that. So that you also, it helps to spread virally the collection of data.
Yeah, so the holders of these stations are already being incentivized by WeatherXM itself. And we could look into ways of also crossing the bridge with our token. That could actually be a cool venue. And there are also about gamified, the only real measure is how good is the data quality. And that's all about where you deploy the station and yeah, that's it, basically, and how.
So what Mog mentioned is kind of the cost side of your model. So how do you optimize the cost side? And I agree with him. You need to find a way where your weather station deployment needs to somehow pay for the person at the end. And I think the question that the chap over there asked earlier is about the sales side. And so if you imagine there's a farmer that sells tulips, and if those tulips, they're magical tulips, so if the temperature is half a degree or a fraction of a degree over in that local little region, the tulips die. So to him, it's critical to have the exact temperature information on his field. So I can imagine for him it's really valuable to pay. So you need to solve for that problem. For him it's really important. For me to know whether I need to take a jumper down to the beach or not, I'm not going to pay for that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the spectrum we're talking about. So Formula One teams, how sensitive does that data need to be? Are the tires they're going to choose depending on 0.1 of a degree, right? So I guess, do you sort of now understand? It's that incremental improvement on the accuracy of the local weather. You need to almost create a market for people to bid for that information based on their need. Does that make more sort of? Is that more clear? Is that kind of what you were after as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I understand, actually. Maybe you can help me out.
So I think what AID tried to do with the F1 tracks and everything else is just trying to make a point of like what we can do potentially. But our main market is on the commodity traders. And what do? They essentially focus on energy prices. And half a degree makes such a difference. And it will make more difference in the future because we have a growing amount of green energy. So if you have like more solar parks or more windmill parks, the correlation between weather data and electricity prices is insane, and it will keep growing, and the correlation will get bigger. And this market is huge. You can Google Dexter AI, it's a Dutch company. I believe there is like 50 million just to trade the weather, and this is the market we're focusing on. And the Formula One tracks and everyone else who might be interested, that's a market we could potentially address, but our main focus is the commodity traders that really highly depend on accurate weather data, and that's where the 0.5 degrees difference actually matter. I think that also answers your question, probably. Or not?
It's about the quantifying the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 0.1 of a degree.
Yeah, 0.1 of a degree like makes you like let's say 10% more accurate than your competitor, so you're like better off training the weather data based on our API.
And that 10% makes you doubly profitable.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but yeah.
One last question from Jan. Two last questions over here then.
How much are these commodity traders willing to pay? If they're going to make, extra few million, how much are you going to charge them?
We actually already have the API live on our site, and the biggest tier is $1,000 a month. And we see prices ranging from other providers from 200 up to 4,000 or 5,000 a month, and that's the prices the big firms are willing to pay. And if you need way more API keys, let's say for a big company, then it would be a custom package, and we'd like exactly tailor the package to their demands. And I mean that could scale up to a lot of money, but it depends.
So my question is, how are we validating this data? I know that we have a baseline, a benchmark, but I don't think any insights was given on this part.
Yeah, so we used the grid I was mentioning is ERA 5. It's like the most commonly used grid in weather forecasting, and the data comes available through weather station, and it gets interpolated, which is a complex process, but on all of these grid points, we have the data available after 5 days. So for example, if we request a miner what will be the temperature in 3 days, after 8 days we have the observation, and we know what the RMSE is, and that's what we score against. With your margin of error.
So it's not based on live data? Because you just said you validate it after 5 days?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, there's a slight delay. But we also ask miners to forecast historical requests. So they could be asked what was the weather 3 days ago. Because there is a 5-day delay. They're still predicting out of sample. But that's how we also manage miners to be scored quickly. So they can actually build a competitive position within the subnet.
Just thinking out loud, how will this be scalable in future? Because you mentioned various sectors, meaning commodity traders, F1s, and et cetera, but I don't think that will be scalable because in F1, they look at live data. That when they need to do a tire change, it will be immediately like, okay, box, tire change.
Yeah.
How, like, I think there is a discrepancy there.
I mean, that's what we've unlocked with the weather stations, because the Era 5 is what we currently evaluate against, but with the new mechanism, we'll also evaluate against real-time data. And that unlocks immediately, so we can score them immediately. But those would only be queries from the API, because you can't score miners on data they could have access to. So we will combine the two. If you want to make it into a subnet, we need the delay a little bit, because otherwise it wouldn't be predicting, it would be measuring, and that's a whole nother thing.
Thank you.
Oh, big round of applause for Zeus and Ego.
Thanks for your time tonight.
It's very good to be with you. My pleasure. Good evening.
I understand you're an economist.
I am an economist, yes indeed.
Right. Do you understand the euro?
No, I'm an economist. No, you want religious questions, Brian, you've got to go and get somebody appropriately qualified. I'm an economist.
Can you explain to us then the Greek economy?
Oh, look, Brian, better value elsewhere, I think. I mean, I wouldn't...
Better value elsewhere, what do you mean?
No, I wouldn't touch it with a pole, Brian. Don't put your money in there.
No, I don't want to invest in it. I'm just asking you to describe
you're seeking information about the nature
about
of it.
Yeah.
I see.
Because there's a great amount of nervousness, isn't there?
Oh, there
about
certainly
the
is,
Greek
Brian. And they
economy.
have, let's face it, very serious structural problems with the Greek economy.
They're broke.
They would be if things improved out of sight, Brian. I think the problem's actually worse than that at the moment.
And they've received a bailout from the other European economies.
Yes, mainly France and Germany.
Yes, why France and Germany exactly?
Well, they work. They're successful economies, Brian.
Because the first bailout didn't touch the sides, did it really?
Well, they do have some serious structural problems, and that needs to be addressed.
And what are they?
Well, they can't pay their debts, Brian. I mean, Greece owes 160% of what it produces. I mean, the task is a Sisyphean task. It's rolling a rock up a mountain.
So Greece is insolvent?
Brian, put it this way. If it were a private company, there'd be a fire there on Saturday at about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So how big was the bailout?
First bailout was $100 billion.
Second bailout?
$100 billion again, Brian.
And how long will that last them?
I think there's some confidence that'll get them to Tuesday, Wednesday.
So what is the alternative to bailing them out?
Well, not bailing them out would probably force them out the bottom of the EU. And of course, the strength of the EU is precisely the unity provided, the capacity those countries have to help one another.
But don't they weaken themselves by doing that?
They do. That's a very good point. And the novelty of giving Greece $100 billion every fortnight is going to wear off at some point.
The Greeks don't want austerity measures, obviously.
They don't, no. And of course, they would need to be complicit in a solution. They'd need to make it work.
But why would anyone want to invest in an economy that can't pay its debts?
Good question, but people have been doing it for 20 years. That's why the problem exists, Brian.
And whatever else they sort out, that might have to apply to some of the other European economies.
That's right. Sorry, Brian. Just getting a text. Sorry.
What's that?
Would we like to buy Portugal?
Buy Portugal?
Anybody want to buy Portugal? Yeah, Portugal's for sale.
How much?
Oh, they won't need money. We just need to guarantee the debt. Oh, hello. They're having a special, red spot special. If we do it today, we can have Ireland as well.
Oh, really? How much for both?
How much have you got? Has anyone got a hat? We might have a crack at this. Ireland's nice.
It is good, isn't it?
Yeah, summer.